this is Jamie Magritte. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to make 3 cards, a simple stamping card, a casual crafter card, and an Avid stamper card using Forever Fern and Forever Flourishing dies that bundle with it. I'm just going to be using these 2 dies out of it for now. This one actually cuts out the stamped image I'm going to use, and then this one I'm going to cut out with some white. So let's get started. I have an avalanche here. This is the first card, the simple stamping card. I don't know if you can see the little blue specks in there, but it's really a simple card. All the cards are going to use the same basic pieces. I have a 5.5 by 8.5 scored and folded at 4 1/4 for my card base. I have a piece of balmy blue, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. That'll be this layer here. I have a piece of early espresso, which is 4 by 5 1/4, and that'll be this layer here. And then I have my layer that I'm going to use to stamp on, and it is 3 3/4 by 5, and this is the regular Whisper White. Okay, so let's put these 2 aside. We're going to bring this piece in, and I'm going to be using this stamp here, the little speckles. Excuse me. For the beginner card, or the simple stamping card, I'm going to make it into a wedding card, Love and Laughter Forever After. And for the other 2 cards, I'm going to use the Hello. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is come in with the little speckles. And I'm going to be using Balmy Blue ink, Early Espresso, and Old Olive. And for the final card, I'm going to bring in Versamark and silver embossing powder. So I'm going to do the speckles, and I'm just going to stamp it full strength with the Balmy Blue and stamp off a few times. I'm going to do like a triangular shape here. Turn the stamp a little. There's no right or wrong to it, just get a little bit of background down. Okay? I don't know if you can even see it. There you go. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do with that color. And I'm going to come in with Old Olive. And I'm going to bring in this one. Ink it up. This is one of those distinctive stamps. It has all the shadow and layers and different dimensions all right in it. And I'm going to stamp this down here in this quadrant here. Again, I'm divided this into 3 sections this way, 3 sections this way. Where those sections collide, that's on one of those section lines is where I'm going to do majority of my stamping. And the reason for that is it's just the rule of thirds in art, and it's just a little bit more pleasing to the eye. It allows a little bit of white space, and then it allows you a busy spot and then areas that rest your eye. Okay, so I'm going to bring in Early Espresso, and I'm going to bring in the Sentiment. I'm going to stamp that across this. Try and get as level as I can. Oh, it's crooked, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Now if I'd stamped it on a larger piece of paper, I could trim it out so it would be straight. That's alright, we're going to go with it. I should have stamped it off to know how it was going to be, but alright, and we're going to mount this to our Early Espresso layer. I'm going to use the glue. Okay, then I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this, just because I want a little bit of interest to it. You don't need to use the dimensionals. Just want it to have a little bit of something. Take those backs off. Okay, now I'm going to center that up on this blue piece. Best I can. This doesn't have the forgiveness that the wet glue does, so try to get it as best as you can the first time up. Okay, now I'm going to use wet glue to adhere this to the front of the card. Center that up. There we go, there's card number 1. Okay, so let's put those aside. We're going to bring in the next card. This is the Casual Crafter card. You can see it's got a little bit of dimension. These pieces were cut out. And then I've got a different sentiment on there. Okay, so the parts for this one, I have my card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I have a scrap of Whisper White, which I've already die cut this ferny leaf out of. Okay. I have 2 scraps of, one is the Balmy Blue and it's 1/2 inch. I will trim it down and cut a fishtail in it, and then this is a 1/4 inch. It's just a scrap from when I trimmed these down of the Early Espresso. I have a scrap of Whisper White, which I'm going to stamp on and then die cut out that other fern with. And then these layers are exactly the same. 3 3/4 by 5, 4 by 5 1/4, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I'm going to place these ones aside. I'm going to bring these ones in. Let's open the green. Put this up here so I don't get ink on it. And I'm going to stamp the fern, this one here, on the scratch paper. Or scrap paper. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for a minute. I'm going to bring in this little blue one. And I'm going to bring in Hello and the brown ink, or the Early Espresso. And I'm going to stamp this like right about there in the middle. It's not too bad. Let's turn it over, see if I can get it straighter. That's even worse. Okay, we'll just decide when we go with it. Okay, so we're done with the espresso for this card, so let's close that one up. And we're done with the green for this card. Let's come in with the Balmy Blue. Excuse me. Okay, let's bring in this piece and this little blue piece. I apologize for that. And we're going to stamp those spots down the background just like we did before. So we're going to go a little bit larger because we've got that other fern. We don't want to cover it all up. So again, I'm doing that little diamond or triangle type shape. Dark one over here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Not sure you can see it, but I'll bring it up. Okay. And now we can assemble our card. Oh, first I've got to go and die cut this one out, and I'll be right back. Oh, I do want to show you a tip here. There's 2 little spots or dots in the stem of this, it helps to line it up. So let me show you. Zoom in a little, so see if I can show you. Okay, so we're going to line up the ferns or the leaves on the top, and then you'll see these dots here. If you're not lined up, it's white. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. But if you get it lined up, you can actually see the green through the stem, or the green through the holes. It makes it cut out almost perfectly. And I always use a sticky note to stick it on there. And I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I actually had to remember to zoom back out. Let's take this off of here. See, it's like almost a perfect die cut. Okay. So now let's put this card together. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to our brown layer. I'm going to pop this one up like I did the first one. I didn't do that on my original card, but I think I'm going to want it that way. Let's see if I can keep practicing with this. Take your pick tool, take these backs off, but I don't have the snap or something. I don't know why. I think I'm trying too hard. Okay, now let's put this onto the blue piece. There isn't much space, so hopefully I'm not getting my head in the camera. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and glue this. Oh no, I don't want to glue this on yet because I want to be able to trim those banners down. So let's bring in this, and before we mount the other pieces, let's trim that just a little bit and cut a fishtail in it. So I'm going to snip an end, and I'm going to cut, or snip in the center, and then cut from the corners to that center piece. Okay, then on the brown piece, I'm just going to cut a diagonal. See it? Okay. So this is going to go like there. I want this piece here. This is going to get glued down there. And the piece I just cut out, I need to add some dimensionals to the back of. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in the wet glue. I'm going to put a little bit of wet glue on the back of this. You could use your sponge and your silicone craft sheet if you have it. I find I end up moving the piece and getting glue on the front, so I prefer to just put a little tiny bit of glue where I need it on the back. Use the tip of the bottle to push it around. You don't need glue everywhere, just a little bits here and there. Excuse me. I'm going to turn my phone off. Alright, I'm sorry for the interruptions. You can tell the COVID is getting better because I'm starting to get garbage calls again. Okay, now this piece is going to go here. And this piece that we stamped, we're going to take those backs off. And again, the easiest way I find is just poke my finger into that a little bit. It lifts up the back, and you can just pick it off. Oh my goodness gracious, if it ain't one phone, it's the other. Okay, put this one down here. Okay, I'm going to put a couple dimensionals on the back of this. No, it's good enough. Side's better. Okay, I'm going to put one at this end. one in the middle, and one. How far do I want it? About there, I guess. Okay, take those backs off. Okay, this is going to get set down here, right over the bottom of those stems there. And I kind of tucked it under that one leaf over the top of it. Okay, this one is going to go underneath it, flat. So I need to adhere some glue on it. Tuck it under this, so just a hair. Oh, I got that smeared somehow. Alright, now we're going to turn it over, bring in our snips. We're going to place them right against the edge and snip it off. Okay, then we'll bring in our card base, adhere it to the card base. Okay, then I'm going to bring in these metallic pearls. They come in silver and gold in one package. I'm going to put a couple little pearls on here. Put one here. One just below it. And the last one down here on this brown piece. All in a straight line. If I can get it on there. There we go. There's the card we just made together. There's the one I did previously. That's the casual stamper. Okay, now we'll go on to the Avid stamper. This is the Avid card. Okay, move a few things out of the way here. I have my card base. Bring in everything I need again. I have a piece of Forever Gold Specialty Designer Series paper. It's really pretty. You can even see it in there. This is Fern. It's really delicate, but it's pretty. Okay, I've got that white piece that I cut out already prior. I have the same two little strips, a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch. This is Balmy Blue, Early Espresso. I have my scrap piece to stamp my fern on. I have my white piece, which is 3 3/4 by 5 to stamp the spots on. I have my Early Espresso 4 by 5 1/4, and my Balmy Blue, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. These will be the same as before. Place a few things aside here. Getting crowded. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, pick up some of this mess. I'm going to stamp that fern like I did on the first one. Okay, I'm done with the green ink. Okay, I'm not going to use the Early Espresso ink on this card at all. I need to go die cut this out, and I will be right back. Again, I'm going to line this up. Make sure I can see the green through those holes. Tape it down with my Post-it note. and run it through my machine. And again, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's get this one apart. Okay, now for this part, we're gonna bring in the spots. We're gonna stamp with the balmy blue first. All across the back like we did before. Okay, then we need to bring in our chamois. We need to clean off the spots, and we need to clean off our sentiment. Okay, now we're going to bring in the Versamark. And before I do anything, I need to make sure I treat this with my embossing buddy. Okay. And I'm going to do the spots. I'm going to do a few random spots. The Versamark, it's hard to see them, but it's alright. And then I'm going to stamp the hello onto the balmy blue like we did with the brown before. Okay. And I'm going to come in with my silver embossing powder. I'm mixing metals here. Some people would be upset about that, but I kind of like the effect. Let's see if I can get it on here without making too much mess. There's that one. I've got a little bit down here. Let's see if I can get it off. Must have haloed. Okay, bring in this piece, and I'm dumping the embossing powder into a coffee filter so I can just dump it back into my jar. Okay, let's put that aside. Okay, now I'm going to bring in my heat tool. And I don't know where my board is. I've misplaced it. My room is a mess. Okay, I'm going to heat emboss these real fast. There it goes, starts to melt. There we go. Alright, now we can assemble this card. That's everything we need. Okay, so again, we're going to mount this. See the speckles on there? It just adds something else. We're going to glue this to the front of the Early Espresso piece with the wet glue. A little bit more glue there than I need, but okay. Then we're going to come in with those dimensionals and put them on the back of this, but I think I'm going to wait a minute to do that. I'm going to assemble the front first. Okay, so what I did was I set this here, and I set this piece here where I wanted it. I added my dimensionals to the back of this piece. I don't know what I did with the dimensionals, so let's get out another piece. And I covered the back of this with dimensionals. I used more than I needed, but I'm going to use this to adhere these together. So I needed to make sure I had plenty of adhesive on the back. Take those backs off. Okay, now I set this down here where I wanted it. Like that. And oh, that adhered really well. I picked it up, turned it over, and then I put my glue on the back. Just little bits on this. I don't need much on the gold part. Just tiny little bits. If I can get the glue to come out, that would be awesome. Now on this part here, you can be a little more generous because you're not going to see any of that because it's layers. Some of these little delicate leaves. Again, you could have used the sponge and the glue that way. For some people, they find it works really well. I don't find it works well for me. I can never hold it still, and I always end up with glue on the front. Okay, now we're going to set this back down. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with our hello. And we're going to snip the end. I want it a little shorter. Snip the end in, and from the corners to that snip. Add our dimensionals on the back of that. Got a little snip in this. Make sure my camera. Alright, let's put the hello down. I want it under this leaf a little bit. Like that. Put a little glue on this strip. Tuck that in underneath the blue piece. Turn it over, snip off those bits, mount it to our blue piece with dimensionals. Okay. Mount it on the balmy blue piece, center three sides, set it down. Okay, and I'm going to glue that to the front of my card base. come in with those pearls. Probably be easier to use my take your pick tool, but just fell down on the floor, so. Come on. One more. Okay, there's our Avid stamper card. Okay, so we've got 3 different cards. I'll show you the one that's not crooked. Simple stamping, casual stamper, and Avid stamper. Well, thank you so much for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find some time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.